Okay, so here's the question. The city of Raleigh, it has 8,400 registered voters. There are two candidates for city council in an upcoming election, Brown and Feliz. The day before the election, a telephone poll of 250 randomly selected registered voters was conducted. 140 said they'd vote for Brown, 92 said they'd vote for Feliz, and 18 were undecided. So they're asking us to describe the sample. So this question asks for the sample, and I'm just going to move on to number 2, which is exactly the same, but says what's the population. So basically in these two questions, we're trying to compare what is a sample, what is a population. So this right now, this is statistics. Statistics. And this is very important. This is a topic that you will teach in the elementary school curriculum. You'll introduce younger folks to statistics for the first time. And it's super important actually in our modern information age. We live in the information age, right? There's constantly information being poured at us on the internet, on the TV, news, and everybody's saying this study proves this and this study proves that. So it's important for us to become a wise consumer of statistical information in the information age. So the first thing we need to know is whenever they're trying to figure something out, like right now in our state, they're trying to, in the year 2001, they're trying to figure out should we recall our governor, right? That's a popular thing in California right now. Should we recall the governor? And everybody probably has an opinion. And so that the recall election is probably going to be, they say it's almost for sure going to be in a few months, and nobody's sure which way it'll go. So people want to know, though. People are highly interested. They want to know, is the governor going to be recalled or not? Well, how do they figure that out ahead of time? What they do is they do polling, don't they? You've seen it all the time. We just finished a national election. We just finished putting in a new president. And before that, they had all kinds of polls. So how do they do these polls? Well, when they do a poll, a sample, when they do a poll, they take a sample. What does that mean? That means a small group. They ask a small group who what's your opinion? So for example, if you wanted to figure out if the state of California is going to recall our governor in a few months or not, you could ask a small group. You could just go out in the street and grab 10 people at random and say, hey, do you want to recall the governor or not? What's your opinion? Yay or nay? Yes or no? And you could ask 10 people and you could say, oh, I don't know, 10 or 5 or 6 out of 10 said yes. So I think about 6 out of 10 are going to want to recall the governor. I don't know. You can do a little survey. That's a sample. So the sample is the people they asked. And that's the telephone poll of 200 randomly selected registered voters. That's the sample. That's the people you ask. Now, what's the population? Come on down here. What's the population? Well, it's the group. It's the group. Well, I should say it's the bigger group. It's the bigger group who will actually vote. It's the bigger group who will actually vote. You're trying to figure out, like if you're asking 10 people whether they want to recall the governor or not, you're trying to figure out the population. The population in that study would be the whole state of California, right? Because the whole state of California is going to be able to vote. Well, I really shouldn't say the whole state. It's all the voters, right? Because people under 18 aren't going to be able to vote, so we're not really counting them. We're not counting kids. We're not, you know. So we'd say all voters in California. So in this one, it's all registered voters in Raleigh, but careful, it's actually all registered voters with a telephone. Why the telephone? Well, it's a factor of how they did the study. See what they did? They did a telephone poll. Because they called people on the phone and asked them, who are you going to vote for, Brown or Feliz? Therefore, they're really only finding out the opinions of voters that have telephones. There might be some registered voters who don't have a telephone. I don't know, there's probably not a lot of them, but there might be. And you're not really getting their opinion if you're just calling people. If you wanted their opinion, you would need to go out on the street. And that's really a better way to interview people, is one-on-one on the street. That would be a better way. But because they're calling people, they're really only getting the registered voters that have telephones. They're not really getting all the registered voters, because some of them might not have telephones. To get all the registered voters, they would need to go out on the street or go house to house and ask people individually. All right, so there's the first lesson. A sample is the small group you're asking, and the population is the big group who's actually going to vote or, you know, do whatever. And the governor, you know, you might ask 10 people on the street at random if they're going to want to recall the governor or not. And the population, that'd be the sample. The population would be all the voters in California. You're trying to figure out what their opinion is. So that's the first lesson in how they do a statistical study. They have to have a sample, small group, and they have to have a population, a bigger group from which they're trying to learn something. There we go.